From med to law, a federal judge invited to speak at Stanford University getting completely shouted down by woke students. One issue they had with the judge was his refusal to use a defendant's preferred pronouns from the bench.
So you've invited me to speak here, and I'm being heckled nonstop. And I'm just asking for an administrator to tell me what...
The school's diversity dean attempting to restore order, but watch this, ends up attacking the judge worse.
Your advocacy, your opinions from the bench land as absolute disenfranchisement of their rights.
Wow. Kristen Waggoner is the vice president and general counsel at Alliance Defending Freedom. She joins me now. And Kristen, as someone who received a similar reaction when you spoke at Yale Law, what's happening at these elite law schools when it comes to literally the First Amendment, which, brace for it, is a law that you study in law school?
Well, you're exactly right. We're seeing a trend in America's so-called elite schools where they are refusing to adopt a culture of free speech, and student mobs are permitted to shut down invited speakers and to essentially stop groups and events that are sponsored by their fellow conservative students. And as this video shows, they are enabled, and even the mob was fomented at Stanford. A similar experience happened to me at Yale Law School as well.
Look, I think everybody sees this. They know that the kids at these schools are out of their mind. But when the administrator piles on, basically continuing and encouraging the intimidation and censorship, that's a whole new ball of wax. So when I look at this, I ask myself, how can any conservative feel any bit emboldened to speak their mind about anything, whether it's Stanford, Yale, or a whole host of other schools and universities?
Well, I'll tell you what, this diversity, equity, and inclusion ideology is rotten to the core. It thrives on an abuse of power and raw power, which is what we saw in Stanford. And we do need to stand up and reject it. We have to have free speech to have a free nation. We have to have free speech to have democracy. And think of what our justice system will be like if these future law students go into the world as our leaders and they think that intimidation, bullying, and censorship is the right way to assert themselves and their ideas rather than engaging with logic and persuasion.
That's an important point, what this means for everyone else out there when these individuals graduate and become lawyers. And the judge in this case, Judge Duncan, I think he really said the key phrase. He said following, quote, if enough of these kids get into the legal profession, the rule of law will descend into barbarism. I mean, what law firm in the right mind is going to hire someone like this? Because, quite frankly, Kristen, if they react this way to a judge that is speaking to them, how are they going to react when a judge themselves berates them because their argument's not good, when a law partner berates them because their work isn't good enough?
Well, you're right about that, but you also need to think about the conservative students that want to go into law. We need to demand that there be intellectual diversity on these campuses, and these law students will go into those firms and use their power to censor, silence, and to essentially eliminate a culture of free speech. If that happens, then we lose a democratic government. We lose the ability to test ideas and have true social progress. It's something that the stakes couldn't be higher in America right now, and we all have a role to play in it.
That is so sad, because when I was in law school, when I took the bar, knowing both sides of the argument and being able to articulate both sides of the argument was tantamount to passing. You didn't pass unless you did that. I feel like these law schools are losing that, and that's concerning for the country as well as for the profession of law. Kristen Waggoner, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.